Okay, I'm going to quickly go through how to change an alternator on a 14 plate Mondeo 2 litre diesel. Just one thing to note here, these alternators have a clutch unit in this pulley because these are what's called overrunning alternator pulleys and they need to be working. If you twist them, you'll feel them slip. That way you know they're working. If they just spin, they don't slip, they're locked up solid. Your fan belt will be flapping around and you need to change them. I've got the engine out of this car and I've already taken the alternator off. But by putting the alternator back on, you'll have a good idea how it all goes back together. Because it's just so much easier for me to show you with the engine out rather than the engine in the car. Anyway, I'm going to try and explain this as quickly as possible. The first thing you want to do is raise the vehicle if possible and remove your engine under tray. You'd then put a jack or a support underneath the sump of your engine and remove your engine mount. You don't have to remove your fuel filter housing assembly, but there are a couple little plastic trims which go on this housing. Two 10mm on this one, and there's 3 Torx 30 screws on this piece of plastic. You have to remove these, that way the alternator will come past your fuel filter housing. You can then jack your engine up a little bit and remove your alternator belt. I'll just show how this alternator goes back on, that way you'll have a good idea how it comes off. But just to note here, in this bracket here, there's a bush and it's tapered one way. And you need to make sure that the taper, because it's flat the other end, goes the way the bolt goes into it. And you see the bolt's got a taper as well. Note this little bracket here with a 5mm Allen key bolt. You don't have to take it out, but just leave it loose. You'll notice on the bottom of the alternator there's a stud that goes into the bracket. If you're changing the alternator, you have to swap from one alternator to the new one. And that fits into the bracket like so. You can then fit your tapered bolt and just do it finger tight for the moment. There's a further 2 16mm bolts which now go here and secure the alternator. And we can tighten these 2 bolts down fully now. Your tapered bolt at the back of the alternator, if you can't get a socket and ratchet on it, you can probably get a spanner in there and tighten it up. There'll be a block connector here which plugs in. Your main battery lead would also go here, which is permanent live. So make sure it doesn't touch any metal if you haven't disconnected the battery. And then you would put this 13mm nut on and tighten your battery lead up nice and tight. And your 5mm Allen key holding the bracket at the bottom of the alternator, you can whack that up nice and tight now. Before I put the alternator belt back on, just note the tensioner unit. There's a Torx 50 bolt holding the whole tensioner unit onto the engine bracket. You would need a Torx 50 bit to remove it. To detension the alternator belt, you put a 15mm spanner on this pulley and you would turn it clockwise. You can then, as you can see, I've fitted a pin in here and that's locked this tensioner in the detention state. That way I can remove and refit the belt easily. And you can see how easily the multi-ribbed belt fits back on them pulleys. Right, I'll now put my spanner or socket onto this tensioner nut, 15mm, and turn it slightly clockwise and remove this pin. And then release it and the tensioner will take up all the slack. And that's it, one alternator belt fitted. See, changing that alternator would have been an absolute nightmare trying to film that with the engine in the car. So I hope that's helped. Anyhow, that's it for today. See ya.